Okay, so factors influencing change in the organization. Some of the external factors are the economic and market changes and the technological innovations. Um, some of the economic and marketing changes are caused by federal budget restrictions, competition, demanding customers, international relations. The technological ones are pretty much learning to progress within the organization without adopting a new technology, so trying to stay efficient. With this, they talk about the S curve. The S curve is basically a project management tool where you measure the expertise on the x-axis and the time on the y-axis. And this is basically to see how efficient the company is. So you'll measure cost, you'll measure labor hours, you'll measure basically any quantitative variable affecting the organization. And on it, this is how the organization will measure their effectiveness and if they're making payroll, anything that has to do with the overall success of the organization. As you can see on the S curve, it follows the S. Once you're at the top, it's considered the expertise section. So you've got it down. The goal is to continue the S curve. Back to technological innovation. That's when you're at the top of the S curve, is when you're learning to progress with your technology while still keeping it innovative. There's a period near the middle, which is called discontinuity, where you're transitioning from one technology to another. So you're replacing another one so that you can better improve the efficiency of your organization. Some internal problems that organizations face are things like sexual harassment, problems with dealing with different employees based on culture or values and beliefs, strikes, anything that directly affects the employees and work from the inside, and things that can't be improved from external environment. A major challenge to the managers at this point is to learn to balance everything going on in the organization. So they need to balance the need for change and adapting to everything that's already going on so that they can provide a stable work environment for their employees, keep them motivated, therefore they will be keeping with the efficient work. So two of the internal factors that do play the key role are basically the structural changes in the organization, which can affect employee motivation, as well as shifts in employee demographics. I'll get more into that in the next slide, but that includes everything about sexual harassment that I mentioned, cultural diversity, the age of the employees, etc. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the different types of change in an organization. There's either planned change or unplanned change. This can happen both internally or externally throughout the organization. Plan change is defined as a conscious decision to change the way an organization functions, or in some cases, the function of the organization. So it's something that managers plan to have changed. An unplanned change involves a reaction, response to internal, external change factors that, in an attempt to avert a crisis, occur. This could be anything from, having to deal with a strike or anything that comes up that the organization or managers have to learn to deal with that they didn't plan to have to deal with, as opposed to planned would be, for example, having to let go a whole group of people. The organization has to know ahead of time how they're going to deal with this change. Okay, so communicating the need for change. Why is this necessary? Basically, the organization, the managers have to explain to the employees why change is necessary. Because at first, when you're faced with change, you're very resistant of it. You think it's gonna make things worse. No one is openly for change at first. So communicating the need for change is basically communicating to your employees the organization's vision, their purpose, their direction, what they want, and how change is going to affect that. So you provide everyone in the organization, all the members, with a sense of desire for what you hope the outcomes will be for the development of the organization, the intervention, and everything you plan to put into effect that will change anything that they work with. The organizational vision, as I mentioned before, represents the force that guides the organization and provides the purpose, a sense of direction, the goal, everything that makes up what the organization is. This is made up of 4 different parts. It includes the organization's core values and beliefs, so everything that they believe, everything that they work for. This is basically a mission statement of the company. Next is the enduring purpose of the organization. So what it does, what its purpose. Does it provide a product? Does it provide a service? And how do they differ brand-wise from every other organization out there? A highly compelling mission or purpose. So I guess this is emphasizing the value and the beliefs and relating that to the organization's vision by saying how we use our values and our beliefs and our culture to make our organization have a very distinct purpose. Finally, a vivid description of the mission. So this just goes into more detail about the actual mission of the organization. This helps provide motivation for the employees that they see what the organization's vision is and how the change is going to help affect that vision. So now into the barriers of change. Basically, as I mentioned, people are very resistant to change. Even if they are already unhappy with the way things are, they're not exactly going to be open to change because once again, they think it's going to get worse. They're not sure what's going to come from it. It's the whole fear of the unknown thing. So people don't recognize the need for change, and you have to convince them as a manager, as the organization. You have to convince everyone else in the organization to work together. You have to change. At this point, like the people must be misunderstanding the purpose, the process, the outcomes of the change. They don't believe how it's going to affect them. They want to know what the consequences are. You kind of have to prepare them for all the responses they're going to have to these changes. Some of the examples of factors that make people resist to change is, for example, fear of the unknown, not knowing what's going to come next. People are outside of their comfort zone. They don't like that fear of not knowing what's going to happen to their job, their life, their role in the organization. Fear of economic insecurity and loss of status for many people who have been with an organization for a really long time and rely on that for monetary support for their family. It's a very damaging thing to have, and not knowing where your future is in an organization. Threats to existing social relationships. People could be very comfortable in the position they are. They could love the community, the social environment that this organization provides them with, and they can fear that that's going to change. For example, if people have to get let go. Finally, reluctance to give up your old work routines and habits. Once you get comfortable in an organization and the way things are, you're there for a long time, you don't really want to change the way you work, change your manner. You get used to your routine, your 9 to 5, and everything you do in the organization. And the fact that that might change is very scary for a lot of people.